Hi everybody, it's Don, and you know what? I cannot believe when ministers and government officials from the high end of government make announcements that they have not told the people who have to enforce these announcements anything about what they're about to do. Okay, for those of you who don't know, up in British Columbia, which is right on the border of Washington State, there literally is like part of Vancouver City. You just drive outside the city and you're crossing the border. In Vancouver right now, they have had record-breaking rainfall, which has caused a lot of landslides, a lot of flooding, and a lot of farms being flooded. Here, I'll just show you some of the pictures that I have. You can see here people in boats, houses being flooded completely out. Here you can see the bridges washed away. So getting around British Columbia, people were trapped, literally trapped in their cars in rock slides for days before they were able to be rescued because the flooding was just all over the place. Rock slides, it was just too dangerous. They had to airlift people out, and some of the cars are still there. That's how bad this is. There's a whole swath of land that's all dairy farmers, and that's been flooded. A lot of livestock's been lost. Basically, the trains are stopped. The port was closed for a while. It's been absolutely devastating right now in British Columbia. So we had the emergency preparedness minister for Canada came out, Bill Blair, and he said, okay, look, um, anybody in British Columbia, because they've started rationing now. By the way, they've started rationing things like fuel. You cannot buy more than 30 liters of fuel in British Columbia right now. And in case you're wondering, that's about 8 gallons for you Americans. So you can only buy that at a time. So if you have to travel any distance whatsoever, like you live out of the city and you work in it, that doesn't last very long. So the minister came out and said, because of the situation in United States, in British Columbia, because you're so close to the border, those people who want to drive across to the United States, you can cross over at the border, and you can buy for essential reasons. So if you're an essential worker, you're looking for supplies like food or fuel, and that's a very important one, fuel. You do not have to get a PCR test to come back into Canada, because right now, Canadians coming back to Canada need to have a PCR test. Great. He announces this and tweets it out and makes the announcement Sunday evening. Vancouverites are there, and they said, you know what? Great. Tomorrow, we'll go stock up on some food, because they don't want to empty the stores in Vancouver because there's nothing coming in right now. So out they go. They head across the border. They get some groceries. They get some fuel, fill up their cars, saying, good, now we'll be good for a little while. They start coming back, and right there at the border, they're stopped and said, where's your PCR test? And they said, no. The minister just said, for less than 72-hour trips for essential goods, we don't need to have a PCR test. Yeah, well, we don't know nothing about that. Here's your choice. You can turn around, go back to the United States, get a $275 PCR test, stay in the United States for however many days it takes to get that test, and then you can come back. Or we're going to fine you $5,700 and mandatory quarantine you. Those are your choices. And people went, but wait a minute. We were told, yeah, we don't know nothing about that. This is your choice. What are you going to do? We need to know right now. Turn around or go through and be fined. Some people turned around, went and stayed a couple of days back in the United States. So they're they're rushing just to get food and fuel to last the week is turning into a $4, $5, $6,000 trip. Some people said, "Give me the fine. I'll see you in court." But they still have to mandatory quarantine when they get home, which means they might be missing days of their job. They might be missing work. And if they don't mandatory quarantine when they get there and they're caught, that's an even bigger fine than $5,700. So, yeah, some people literally cross the border for 10 minutes to get fuel and drive back home. And they were fined $5,700. Obviously, there's some mix up here. Apparently, the government who made this decision never actually told the border control agents that they're doing this in effect. And like, if you're making that change in an emergency situation, is not the very first people you call the border control agents? Is that, "Hello, border control agents, this is our change we're doing Monday morning. Here you go, click." It's as simple as that. It's an email. It's a notice. It's a phone call to the head of the Border Control Services. And it's not like there's 1,000 borders. There's a couple that might be affected by this. It's literally a phone call or an email. And, oh yeah, sorry, everybody who had the hassle at the border. Sorry, everybody who might have been fined and might have to go to court and fight this. Sorry, people who are missing their jobs because they have to mandatory quarantine. Sorry, you had to stay back another couple days in the United States and spend $1,000 that you weren't expecting to. You were just trying to buy food. Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. It's basically the answer. So now, the emergency preparedness minister is for the federal government has been in contact now with the British Columbia government, and they're saying, well, we're gonna try and resolve this issue. No kidding. No kidding, you're trying to resolve this issue. This issue should never have happened. Literally in your statement, I think I even have the tweet here. See if I can bring up this tweet. That was there. Yeah, right here. Given the situation in British Columbia, travelers and essential workers who must travel to or through the USA for essential reasons, food, fuel, supply chain, are exempt from testing and quarantine requirements. These exemptions do not apply to non-essential travel. Canada Border Service Agency. Yet they were still fined. Unbelievable incompetence. Unbelievable incompetence in an emergency situation. I don't know how we can say that any different. I mean, what's going on? How do you not arrange this? How do you not make sure this doesn't happen? And if you have a bunch of people just suddenly magically appearing at the border who have just crossed and coming back and telling you the same story, how do you not look into it right away? If this starts happening at 8 o'clock in the morning and you have 5, 6, 7 people all being fined and everything, all of a sudden magically that you haven't had in months, this amount of people going across the border with no PCR test, how do you not pick up the phone and ask if maybe something's changed? Maybe something's happened. Yeah. Well, yeah, here's the thing. The government of Canada and British Columbia now all owe any traveling expenses, any hotel stays, any PCR tests, any fines, any loss of work, any loss of anything. They now owe all of these people that money back, without a doubt. And if they don't get that money back, then, hey, class action lawsuit. Because it's in clear, plain, black and white, posted on Canadian government websites that you're allowed to do it. and they still force people and turn people away at the border. What's that word I was looking for when you're talking about this situation again? Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Complete and utter incompetence.